Hi everyone, welcome to Tom's Man Shed. Okay, so as you've seen from the thumbnail, this is a review on a Keter outdoor storage shed, box, whatever you want to call it. But before we get into that, I'd just like to follow up to my last video. If you remember on that, if you saw it on the bone conducting headphones, I did mention that I was just under 3,000 subscribers. So I'd like to say a huge thanks to all my new subscribers and all my existing subscribers for sticking with me and getting me above that 3,000 mark. At the time of recording this, which is 19th of November 2023, I've got up to 3,030 subscribers. So again, that really made me day when I went over that 3,000 mark. I know it's a tiny drop in the ocean compared to most YouTubers with thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers, but to me it's a big deal. So again, I'd like to thank you all. Thank you very, very much. Right, so on with this one. Now, the reason I got this was I do have two metal sheds at the back of my man shed here, my wooden constructed man shed, that I use for storage for the lawnmower, the strimmer, gardening stuff, paint, things like that. I'll put a picture here of them on screen if I'm not too embarrassed at the state of them. So this is what they look like. And as you can see, they are quite maintenance high things. They're the metal ones that you get from Argos and that in a flat pack. They take a lot of putting together. There's hundreds of little tiny nuts and bolts that go round, and it's a two-man job. You've got to hold it, get one to hold it, and it's quite a few hours work in doing it. Then you've got to get it to the floor. It doesn't come with any floor inside. There's no raised floor. If you want to raise the floor, you've got to put your own sort of like floor in, which you can easily do out of old pallets and things, which I have in the big square shed that you saw in that picture, but in the long thin one where I keep my lawnmower and that's just a bare concrete floor under that, so that's worth remembering. You do also get a lot of condensation in summer as well, because the heat of the outside and the cold inside, you get lots of condensation on the inside of the roof, drops of water, really bad sometimes. When I first got them I thought they were leaking in, but it wasn't rain, it was condensation. And the way to stop that is by putting sort of pretty thick, at least inch thick polystyrene glued to the roof to insulate it. So there's a lot of faffing around, and as you can see, they go rusty. You've got to constantly keep painting them and that. So I just fancied something a bit smaller here, a bit nearer the shed, just up against the fence between my house and next door. Low down so next door won't see it, easy access, plastic, easy to put together, built-in floor. So I got one of these Keter sheds. Now I saw these first time about 6 weeks ago, I think, on Hot UK Deals on Amazon, and they were a good price at the time. And I was just about to buy it on Amazon. I did a search and I found it a bit cheaper, not much cheaper, about a 5 or a 10 cheaper on Etsy, ETSY. And I bought it off the seller there, but almost immediately I got an email or a message from Etsy saying the seller is no longer advertising with them, gone bust or something, and they were giving me a refund. So on their credit, I got the refund pretty quick, but no real explanation to why or in any way trying to source it elsewhere or anything like that. So I'm not going to buy anything from Etsy again. So again, I saw this one on Hot UK Deals recently in a sale with B&Q. So let's have a look at it now. This is the one I got from B&Q. So as you can see here, it's B&Q's page, normally 125 down to 79, saving a 46 quid. It's showing out of stock at the moment, but there's 11 in stock in my actual depot. I got it delivered but it shows the orange stock there. So you put your own postcode in there, it will show you how many are left. There's various pictures of it with the wheelie bins in. Like I said, I don't know why you'd ever want to do it. And storing a lawnmower and gardening stuff. So as you saw there, a really, really good price, 79 quid. And at the time of recording this, there is still some left in stock at Blackpool. I got mine delivered, but you may find them in your local depot at 79 quid. They are a very, very good buy. So I'm going to go through this video, as always, and I'm already up to like 5 or 10 minutes, aren't I? So, as always, it's going to be pretty long and pretty intensive. It's going to go into, with a fine-tooth comb, screwing together every single panel of the shelf, every single panel of the shed. And I'll go through the book from beginning to end. And at each stage of construction, I will superimpose the correct page from the book. It's a good book. If you can put IKEA stuff together, this is easier. All pictorial, dead easy to understand, and pretty quick and straightforward to do, as you'll see. But like I say, some of the panels you've got to screw together to make one panel, the back one. And at every stage, I'll put in the top corner or whatever the corresponding page off the book. Probably be quite handy if you see one of these for sale anywhere, used, that's been dismantled and you're not sure how to put it together. But if you just want to see the thing in situ and how much it holds and the stuff I've put in it, skip to the end of this video. But first of all, we'll go through the unboxing. And like I keep mentioning, I know people like seeing unboxings. I don't know why. So this is a quick unboxing of me cutting the packaging and showing you what's inside. But before we do that, I'll quickly show you, because some of these may be useful. Don't know what that lock means, probably without a lock, but it is lockable. You'll see the padlock eye fitted on it, and why, in my opinion, it's not worth putting a really expensive padlock on it, but we'll go into that later. It says 25 minutes to put it together. That's a bit optimistic, I would say. Certainly not if you're anchoring it to the floor as well. But you'll soon see. If you'd read all the instructions and you'd done one already, yeah, you probably could do it in 25 minutes. UV resistant. I don't know what there's no brushing, no painting required, I presume that means. And no hammering. Yeah, you don't need to hammer it. All you need to put the actual shed together itself is a Phillips posi drive screwdriver. That's the dimensions of it. The top is the external dimensions, and then internal ones are underneath. If you can see them, they're just about 1 centimetre less than the external ones. So that's that thing there. That shows you floor panel included. So like I said, so that raises it off the deck. You're not putting your stuff on the bare damp concrete. Little step-on lock. We'll be showing you how to fit that and how to operate that. Ventilated at the sides, and it shows the shelf there. Like it says, the shelf is not included. You've got to put that in yourself. We will be going through that later, exactly how many shelves you can put in, why you might want them, why you might want to leave them out. So let's get into the unboxing now. Let's just slice this open. As you can see, it's 18.6 kilograms. So it's not too bad, I can lift it reasonably okay. And it's just strapped with these side straps here. Okay, so that's obviously the top because it's got a hinge on it. A bag of bits there. So I'll now give the instruction book a read, get it in position. Where I'm going to put it is where you're viewing from now, against the fence, you'll see in a minute. And we'll try and film it stage by stage. Okay, so that's the unboxing, or more accurately, the unpolythene sheeting. Let's have a look now at actually assembling it all. So, as I mentioned before, at each stage I will put the corresponding page from the book on the screen so you can cross-reference it. But as you'll see, it's pretty straightforward. So, start with the base, obviously, and on the base of the base, it's printed where it's made. See if you can have a guess. Like I say in this next bit, have a guess where it is made. It's the only item, as I can remember, or I'm aware of, that I've ever had, I think, made in this particular country. So let's have a look at the full assembly of it now. See if you can guess where this is made. Somewhere currently in the news. Don't know if you can read that. Made in Israel. I don't think I've ever had anything made in Israel before. But this is the base, and every part has got its own code number on it. So this is somewhere. The SMF, and that's the first page in the instruction book. So these two lugs here and here, that's the front of it. Okay, you got these two SM, these are the sides, so SM, SL with the louvers there, and the slope goes to the front, so the narrow end goes to the front. So that's SM, SL, that's for left, obviously, and they're just click in there with a definite click, and that's that one. Okay, so that's them two. By the way, I'm reading this in real time, so I'll edit out any boring bits in between. Okay, now these ones here, it's got on it back panel SMB. Again, somewhere on here it will have. But they're both packed in the thing together. Now, when you put them together, you would think that it's going to go all like that. Them ribs there, matching these ribs there, but it doesn't. It shows you in the book. Again, I'll put on screen a picture of this from the book. But that's how they go. And if you look on here.
So I'll just interrupt here for a second, because in a lot of this footage now you're going to see me holding my Osmo Action camera close to get the close-up shots. But you'll also notice, as I put on screen, I've put a text on screen, that half the time I forgot to turn the flipping thing on. I've got the camera turned on, but I hadn't got it recording. So if you see any shots where I'm holding the Osmo and then there's no corresponding close-up, you know that's what it is. I've tried to zoom in the normal shot from my Canon, but excuse the lack of close-ups and my forgetfulness during these next bits. Back to the assembly.
You'll see there's like little cross strengthening ridges there and there and there, and it's the same on that base piece there and there and there, and it goes like that. And you do not put these end pieces in at this stage. You get this big bag of screws with it. I counted them, I think there's 40 or 42 of these. So it's just a matter of lining it up and then putting the screws in. That's all 5 of them in. Like I say, it's just them 5, leaving these end pieces off. So that's firmly together now. I'll do this from the back because it'll probably be easier for you to see. But once you've got this screwed together, it doesn't matter which way up it is, as long as you've got this bit, the bit with these ribs at the top, so you can click it in like that, this rib bit at the top, or if you turn it over and round, again, rib bit at the top, but it's the other way around, so it is symmetrical in that respect. And what you would normally do it from inside the shed, so it's easy for me to show you, easy for you to see here. You line this up, spread these sides apart, and you click that in. Clicks down like that. Okay, so the next stage is the lid, and what we need to do before putting it on here, so you place it on the floor. This is the hinged bit at the back, and then this piece here we put at the front here with that bit facing in, so that's how that goes there. And again, it's secured by these same two screws. So that's how it goes there, with the lip facing inwards. And we just tighten these two screws down. It's a matter now of lifting that onto the top. Now this time I am going to stand in the shed because I can't really see what I'm doing, but that big lug goes in there. One in there. And it's just a matter of lining these up. You can see here how they go. This lip on the lid goes in that big space there, and you'll notice on these, when they get together, there's just one screw there, one screw in the middle, and one screw at the bottom. But this back panel has got much more screws on it, so there's one there and there's one there. So at this stage, I'm not sure what they are for, but just going by the instructions, so that bit goes in there. And it says click, and it definitely clicked. Same this side. Click it down. So that's the lid on now, and it's already pretty firm with no screws in it. That's down the lid there. Okay, so I'd imagine it is doors next. Let's have a read of the instructions. So when you push them down and you hear the click, you'll see this little brown thing pops into this opening. Check it's up. It's now just a matter of putting 9 screws in. So I say I've just got the one there, and one in the middle. So then we're just mentioned on the inside of here. I'm not sure what they are there for. But we've got 3 up there, one there, one in the lid there, one in the lid at the centre, and then 2 there, and then the same down there. So it's just a matter of screwing that all in now. So I'm using my trusty Lidl's screwdriver. I think I did a review on this screwdriver. If I did, I'll put it a card up above if you want to click that. might have known it started to rain. So I'm just going to put these in now. So with the lid up from inside, once you sort of like line it up, it's just a matter of putting 4 screws in here. There's 2 here and obviously 2 over here. So I shall do that now. I'll get a torch, get them quickly done, get all the camera put away and resume when it stops raining, if it stops raining.
Right, well, you saw there it started raining, so I had to give up filming for that day. So I'm going to resume in a second at where I left off. You'll see me in like a change of clothing, and you'll notice the doors are on at this stage. So I haven't forgot to show you the doors. It's just that I'm going to finish off putting them 2 screws that I was just about to put in when it started raining. And then we'll do the doors after that. Also, the screws at the back. Yeah, the extra holes in the black panels must be just manufacturing holes or something, because as you'll see, they're not visible from the inside, and that you just need 3 up each vertical side, right and left, and 3 along the top, so 9 in total. Any of the ones in the back panel between them just aren't used and are irrelevant. And also, after some horrendous winds last night, the highest ever winds in Lancashire, I believe. So I mentioned that in this. Let's get back onto where I left off.
Okay, so it's finally stopped raining. This is a few days later. We've also just undergone the most horrendous winds in Lancashire. This box, this shed, whatever, was scooting across the backyard here. I had my Henry Hoover in and a little pair of steps, and it still wasn't heavy enough. I had to put a huge Caligas cylinder in, weighing a ton, to keep it in place. So I was undecided whether to anchor it to the floor or not, thinking the weight of the interior things that I'll have in it will do that. But I'm going to definitely anchor it now, because the stuff I'm going to keep in here isn't going to be massively heavy. And like I say, you can see the position of it. It's up against a wall here and a fence behind me, and the wind was blowing it that way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to anchor it to the floor. But first, to start off from where I finished, just as it started raining, I was just about to put these 2 screws in each side. Doesn't really need them in my opinion, because the whole back is screwed on. And it's pretty solid without. I'm going to put them in anyway. So it's just 2 of them same big black chunky self-tapping screws, and they go in 2 holes here. I'll show you in close-up shortly when I've done them. But there's no holes in the brown plastic that it's screwing into behind here, the dark brown plastic of this lid assembly. So you think that they've done 2 little pilot holes in there. There isn't. Now you can just do it with pushing solidly on the screw, because there's quite a spiky point on these. But I've just drilled some little pilot holes. So I'm going to put these in now. So like I say, it's easier if you drill some little pilot holes. Like I say, I'll get these in and I'll show you in close up in place. Okay, and you can just see here the 2 screws in close up I've just put in, and that locks that lid hinge assembly down solid there.
Okay, so as I mentioned there, when you're screwing them 2 screws each side in, there is no corresponding hole behind. Everything else has had like a hole, a female hole, rigged up ready to accept the screw. There isn't in there, so whether it's been emitted by Keter, I double checked and there was no holes in mine, or whether they expect you to just self tap into the plastic, which you can if you press really hard. I don't know. Like I say, I found it easier to drill some pilot holes. The screws you get with it though, they are quite sort of nice, they're pretty sizable screws, as you see. Like black japanned screws by the look of it, and it is a very sharp point, so it could self-tap a hole, but I found it easier to cut drill a pilot just a bit smaller than that in. So that's the lid on now, and where we were up to. Let's get back to now assembling the doors and fitting the doors. So these are the two doors, and as you can see they are both different. There's that one there, and this one has a slot, a gap there for the movable foot peg to lock it. So the next thing in the instruction book is inserting that foot peg, so I'll just do that now. So I've got the instruction book here, and these are the two parts you'll need. That's BL, and this is WLBS on the top there. You can see it. There's no other parts in there to mix them up with, so as you can see here, the first one, it shows that going in like that, and pushing right into this bit is in the slot, so you just got to force that in there. Then it shows this piece with the going over there. So push that in there, and it shows it there. Just push it in and click. So that comes through the bottom there. With that sticking slightly out, we'll push that in now. Nearly there. So make sure that is still out a bit there. That has now gone right in the slot, and you can see that is moving up and down okay, so that's like the foot peg to shut the doors. It's then just a matter of turning the door over and putting these three screws in, and because that's engaged tightly in that slot, these screws are perfectly aligned with the bit underneath. So this is the door now, and I'll show you on screen the instructions. It says click, so it's a matter of placing that hole there over the very bottom peg, opened right out, and then sort of like lifting up a bit, inserting that in there, top hinge, and clicking down. Now same with the other side, over there, lift up, and then click down until there's a definite click. Okay. So at the moment, because we've not got everything screwed and secured, you can see there is a gap there. It's probably because it's not on level ground yet, but you can see it's going up, but that needs holding because this ground must be facing down slightly, but it'll probably go together better when we get some more bits screwed on and screwed together. So it's now just a matter of putting these through there for the padlock. And then that just screws in like that. Got a bit of swarf here, you might think that's a broken part, but it's just a bit of swarf left over from when it was manufactured. And again, the other one. That's them two. Okay, and then the final part is this, like support for the back strut. So there's this little hole here,
And these two lips go over that bit there. I'll screw this on and I'll get the light a bit near and you can see, but that goes in that hole there. See there, that grips inside the channel there, just goes around that bit. And it's, like I say, just a support for that back strut. So I'm going to find along this fence bit of level ground, or just chock it up under there with something. I'm going to put some ground anchors in and then I'll do the internal shelf, but that is the actual shed box itself assembled. You would put your padlock through there, just pull that forward, pull that up with your foot, swing it out. There we go.
Right, so we've got the entire shed assembled now. So it's just your choice now whether you want to anchor it to the floor. Now, if you're going to be keeping lots and lots of really heavy stuff in there, you'd probably be okay. But as I mentioned before, in them high winds, even though I had my Henry Hoover in there, which is quite heavy, and a little pair of foldable step ladders, the thing was still blowing across the yard and blowing sort of like away from the wall, so it must have been bouncing off the wall. So in a heavy wind, there is a lot of area there to blow around. So my advice would be, if you can, to anchor it down. Now, I did anchor it down, and what I used was, as you'll see in a second, these things. Now, the great these, I used loads of these when I built this man shed. And they don't need any roll plugs putting in the concrete or the brickwork or whatever. They come in the box with the correct, I think you call these star drives, do you? Yeah, that's in focus. So I think they're called star drives. They're like that, and you just drill a hole, the required hole, which again it tells you on the box. I think for this it was the same size hole for brown roll plugs. So I forget what size that is, but you drill it in and then you just screw that in with your drill or your impact driver or whatever. No plugs needed. So they hold it really secure. They've got quite a small head, so as you'll see, I've got to space that out with a couple of washers. So let's see me drilling it now and anchoring it to the deck. Now the ones for the floor, you can see they're not drilled through yet. They just show you impressed there, because it's not compulsory that you screw them down, but I am going to do that. So let's get them drilled out and screwed down first. So I'm going to drill these now. As you can see, an SDS drill absolutely zips through concrete. Obviously, make sure there's no cables or whatever below here. I know there isn't on this bit. Just give it a quick hoover out. As you can see, quite a lot of dust formed by that drilling. So, give it a hoover out. So I've got the holes drilled now. So these are the screws I'm going to be putting in. And you can see I'm just going to put them through. I've not got any suitable size washers with the right size hole for these screws, but two washers will do. And then they fit in with, you actually got this like star drive, whatever you call them, drive. You can see the heads in them there. You got this with the screws, so we should go in.
Okay, that's it, anchored to the ground now. You can see it's absolutely solid. There's no way that is going to move. Even without the lid and the door shut, you know, it's still pretty firm. All I've got left to do now is put the shelf or shelves in. So I'm not sort of quite ready for that. I'm not sure what's going in here yet, so I'll show you the completed thing once I've done it. But the shelves go here on one of 3 different positions. So you've got one there at the top, one there at the bottom, sorry, one there at the bottom, 3. So you have 3 different positions. You can see the screw holes that you screw through from the outside into the wood. So I've just got a bit of scrap, a bit of old pallet here, and it asks for that 1 inch thick wood. So anything sort of like double the height, obviously, from there to there, so it goes in the middle. I'll put a picture now on screen of the exact dimensions, one complete piece with all the required dimensions and the different positions it can go in. I was surprised that there was no corresponding ridge along the back there to hold it as well, but there isn't, as you can see. I thought for a minute I'd put this on wrong, this bit, but no, it is exactly right there. There are holes here, but I think they're just sort of like, because it's it can go either way, the part, so they aren't actually used. You don't need to screw through them again. But that is exactly how it goes. It shows it in the book. As you can see here, there's no back ridge lining up with this side ridge. So yeah, so you just put your wood there and then screw through from the outside. I think I'll be using the top one, just to sort of support some jars of paint or whatever, and then giving still but plenty of room underneath for car wash buckets and that. So that's that. You can see it's anchored firmly down now at all 4 corners. Top 2 screws are in, so it's just a matter now of closing it up. So as you saw there, if you want to put shelves in, there are 3 shelf positions, and they don't come right to the front, so you can put tall objects at the front and still have your shelves. I'm going to fit definitely 1, maybe 2. Now, as you saw, as I explained there, the ridges that hold the shelves are only at the side. They're a side ridge, and they've drilled some drilled holes through to secure it by screws from the side. Now it shows you in that piece of paper in the instructions a 1 inch thick shelf. Now 1 inch plywood isn't cheap, or 1 inch plank of any sort of 1 inch wood. You don't want to use chipboard because it'll just dissolve in the dampness. So what I've decided to do is, my daughter was getting rid of an old wardrobe, so the Conti board, or whatever you want to call it, I think they call it MFC now, melamine faced chipboard, but I always used to call it Conti board. So I've just cut 2 shelves out of it, the right size, 1.25 metres long, which is long, and I've painted the sides, the bare sides, with just a bit of paint just to stop the damp going in. Now, because I'll be using that piece of Conti board, that's only 15mm thick. Now, 1 inch is 25mm thick, and they've drilled them holes through the side, ready to go in the middle of a 1 inch thick thing. Well, if you can imagine, mine's going to be sat on the lip there. The screw's going to be right at the top here. So what I'm going to do is either cut some slithers of metal or wood or whatever, just to lift that up on them plastic lips so that the screw goes there in the middle, or I'm just going to drill it right at the top or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like I say, if you're putting really heavy weight on it, 1 inch would be better, but this was free of charge, so that's what I'm going to utilise. So just be aware of that. You will have to raise it to, otherwise you might split the top of it, screwing them screws in from the side. Now, as I mentioned in that bit of the outside video, it would have been better in my mind if Keter had put a lip all the way around the sides and along the back to put your shelves on,
because it's only supported from the sides, and it's 1.25 meters long and 15 mil. It is going to sort of flex a bit if you put anything really heavy on it. If I put a 5 litre weed killer thing in the middle, it's going to be quite a strain. So I'm thinking I may have to reinforce it with some brackets underneath, some little angled brackets, and drill through the back and put some nuts and bolts as support for the shelf. I don't know yet. Once I've got the whole thing installed, I'll show you what I'm going to keep in it, and we'll see how it is for solidity. So let's just see everything getting closed, the doors and the lid, and me putting the lock I've decided to get on, and then I'll go into more detail about the lock. Okay, so as you can see, absolutely solid, even with the doors and the lid up. So it's just a matter now of closing it. That one first. That one, click it down. Pull the lid down. I've bought a cheap disc lock for it. I'll show you in a minute why. It's not the most secure of things, but that just goes in there like that. And it's just a bit of a deterrent. So because I'll show you a better idea that they could have done it, in my opinion, on this lock to make it a bit more secure. I'll show you that in close up now. So, like I say, it's just a cheapo lock, this. Be dead easy to sort of knock off, probably, but there's not much point in putting a really good quality secure lock on it because of this reason. All this is, as you see, just plastic. They squeeze together a bit so you can get a disc lock on, no problem. In my opinion, it would have been better if Keter could have put behind this bit here some metal. I could even glue epoxy piece of steel in there, because as you can see, it is just plastic, and when it's down there and you've got your lock through it, people have only got to cut through there. So you could just get a hacksaw and just cut through that plastic along there, and it's open. So yeah, and then just slide that out of the way. So yeah, no point putting a really secure lock, because it's dead easy to cut through there. So but for now, it's a form of slight deterrent. It shows it's locked, but I won't be keeping anything particularly valuable in here. So yeah, as shown there, it's not going to be the most secure of things. So the lock I decided to put on was just one of these. It's just a cheap disc lock. Now, there's a great channel, I don't know whether you've ever seen it, called Lock Picking Lawyer. And he's unbelievable. He can pick just about any lock, even really expensive ones. He just jiggles his tools, pardon the expression, in there, and yeah, real skill. But it'd take him about 1 second or less to get into that. But it is just a form of deterrent if somebody sees it on the front. And of course, if there was an insurance claim, you can say, look, it was broken into. I did lock it up. If you just leave it open, they're not going to pay out. But yeah, so I wouldn't bother putting anything expensive on, because they could just slice through the plastic above. Like I said, it would be better if Keter could have made that top bit out of metal and coated it in plastic. It'd have made it a bit harder to cut through. But there you go, just something like that. The first lock I got an ABUS, again a cheap one. ABUS, good mate, but one of the bottom of the range ones. I had to send it back to Amazon because you could lift the whole lid up even with the lock on it. It was so small, I hadn't realised in the picture. So if you are going to get a lock, get something that will go through them lips and be big enough to not be able to lift out. A little tiny thing is not going to be any good. So that's my advice for a lock. So right, so we've got the whole thing fitted now. Let's see how waterproof it is and give it a good spray with a hose pipe. Okay, so I thought I'd, before I put all the shelves and all my gear in, we'll see how waterproof it is. So as you can see, before we start, it's all dry inside. Okay, so if we just shut the doors now,
would spray with this. So as you can see, this is a pretty heavy downpour being simulated. Okay, so this is the hose I used. This was also from B&Q. As you can see, you just pull it out to where you want it, and it locks, and then you just pull gently, and it starts rewinding, and as you can see, it winds it back onto the drum. So far it's proved really good. This been reliable. I've had it about 3 or 4 months. Check the card above. Now, for a full review on that, because that also from B&Q's. Right, let's go on and see how it is. So I'm gonna just wipe the water off here first, because as you open it, I found when I did a quick test before that it can just drip inside, so if you were opening it just after a heavy rainstorm. Right, let's see what it's like inside. Okay, so we've got water on the lip there, obviously, but as you can see, inside it's bone dry. So I can't see anything on them side walls, or like I say, on the base. So yeah, I think that's pretty waterproof. But like I said, just remember to dry the lid first before you do lift it up if it's wet. It's just a matter of putting the lock back in there now.
So yeah, as you saw there, totally waterproof, and I can confirm it has rained normally since I did the hose pipe test for hours and hours and hours. It never ever seems to stop raining at the moment, and I've checked and there's no water getting in. As I mentioned on there, and as I showed, you saw that one drip go in. Anything that goes inside is when you lift the lid and it drips from the front. So wipe the front, particularly underneath the lip as well. And if you get that reasonably sort of dry before you lift it, if you just lift it when it's covered in water, you're going to get them drips going in. Okay, so let's have a look at actually fitting the shelves now. So drilling through the side of the shed. I'd only just recently looked at this. I thought the holes were pre-drilled, but they're not. As you'll see, they're like little dimples ready to drill the hole, which is obviously a better idea, because if you're not having the shelf, you don't want the holes in the side to let any water in. So let's have a look at that now, and it explains it all here. So the holes you have to drill from the outside, I don't know whether the camera will pick it up, but there's tiny little indents there and there. That's for the top shelf, and so on down. So somewhere down here there'll be 2 more for the other shelves. So obviously they don't drill these through because you might not be having a shelf, but so there and there with my trusty Lidl's drill. I've had this
quite a few years and it's still going strong. Right, I hope you can hear this, because that noise is the council filling a big hole in, they've stopped, a hole in at the front of my drive with tarmac. Yeah, I've drilled the hole there, and I was hoping that the head of that would go in the slot, but these are the smallest screws I've got, and it doesn't, so it's going to be on the outside. So I'm actually going to put one of the ones I got with the shed. I have 4 of these left over, so 2 each side for the shelf. That'll be ideal, and then the head will go on the back of there. You could put a very tiny screw in there with the head going in the slot, because it's not actually carrying any weight. The weight is carried by the lip below it, but I think I'm going to put these bigger screws in, so I'll drill it with a slightly bigger hole.
Yeah, so as you saw there, the gap, if you want the screw to go right against the plastic, inside the gap, it's going to have a tiny head. I did have some with a head that would go in there, but they weren't long enough to come through inside. So any screw will do. Say I used the bigger one that it grips on the outside too of the broad bits of the channels. It is just to hold the shelf sort of like in place. Once you've got all your stuff on it, your heavy stuff, it's not going to move anyway. It's supported by the lips. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, because I only used 15mm thick chipboard, melamine board, Conti board, whatever you want to call it, and they recommend an inch. Them holes, once you've got the shelf on the lip and you drill the holes, with mine being a lot thinner than recommended, they would be very near the top and they might split the wood. So I've raised the shelf a tiny bit, and I'll show you what I used just to raise it. That midges, just so I don't end up drilling through and splitting the wood.
Okay, and you can see here, I've just cut a piece of that strapping just to raise the shelf up a bit so that the hole goes into it. I mean, only 15mm thick instead of the recommended 25, 1 inch. So any slither of wood or slither of metal like that to raise it up, so that should do us now. Okay, you can see the shed is in now, and I've used the last 4 remaining screws that came with it. Just about got room to get 2 in there between the shed and the wall.
Now, as I suspected, because I've used a much thinner wood than recommended, 15mm instead of 25mm, it does flex quite a lot in the middle. So I'll just show you what I used just to stiffen that shelf up, and then maybe another idea later on. But let's see what I used, and it was quite effective.
These bits of paint are just to protect any bare wood from damp, but you can see how flexible this is. It is moving up quite a lot, so anything really heavy in the middle there would pull them screws out. So what I'm going to do for now is I've just cut a piece of wood I left over, and I'm going to put that in there at the back. And that is absolutely solid now. I don't know whether you can see that. There is no flex in the middle now, so ideally just either support it with something like that or put a shelf bracket on and under the shelf. For that though, I would have to undo my floor anchors and pull the shed forward to gain access to the back to drill through and put nuts and bolts and a shelf bracket, or even one there and one there. But that is pretty solid now. I could put something really heavy on there. So yeah, let's get it all filled up with stuff.
So yeah, that's what I've used just to prop it up. I think I'm just going to leave it at that, not bother putting any shelf bracket on. I did mention earlier on that I wondered why Keter hadn't put a moulded in little shelf supporting lip running along the back. Well, it occurred to me the reason is probably because the back does bow a bit. It seems to bow out. It's not absolutely flat. So to get it to the shelf, if you drilled through the back and put a shelf bracket into the shelf, that would drag the bowed-in back absolutely straight along the back of the shelf. But because it's bowed like that, they would have to put quite a wide lip to support that shelf. And of course, if they've done that lip quite deep, that is taking up room of the shelf. If you room inside the box, the shed, if you're not going to use the shelf. So if you're going to like put a bike or whatever in it, don't know whether you'd fit a whole bike in, but a foldable bike or anything that you're not bothering with the shelf, if there was that lip, it'd stop it going as far back. So that'll be the reason why they haven't. So be aware that if you do use a thinner wood like mine, you will have to support it in the middle. Of course, if you use the 1 inch thick recommended wood that they recommend, that'll be solid and it won't flex. But like I said, a 1.5 metre, 1.25 metre, 250mm, whatever wide piece of 1 inch plywood is reasonably expensive. And I had that wood lying around. That's the reason I used it. Right, again, and before we see, if we're getting near the end now, honestly, before we see the final thing with all my stuff inside it, I did mention earlier on, it does show on one of the advertising pictures 2 wheelie bins inside it. And like I said, I wondered why anybody would spend 80 quid or whatever and just hide 2 wheelie bins in. Seems pointless, but if that is what you're buying it for, I'm pretty sure the wheelie bins they're on about are the narrower ones, like my blue one for waste paper. Here in Wyreborough, we have a wide red one for cans and plastic bottles, a thinner blue one for paper and cardboard, and the grey one for your non-recyclable stuff. Now, the 2 big ones, as you'll see here, I don't think it'd fit. I didn't try it before I fitted the shelf. I forgot all about it, and I thought I'm not going to take the shelf out just to try these bins. But as you'll see, I don't think they would fit. It would just be a bit wide. So I think it's referring to the smaller, narrower bins. So double check the size of your bin, the size of the internal dimensions of the shed, if that's what you're getting it for. But let's have a look now, and I'll show you what I mean. Having a look at them, you can see how close that is there. It's right up to the door to get it in. That wheel is sort of touching that one. And here, we've got it right up against the thing. So, it would be a squeeze. I'm pretty sure they're not going to fit in there. If you look at that wheel, that's going to hit that. So 2 of these bigger standard size wheelie bins wouldn't fit in. These thinner ones would. I don't think there's any problem with that, but the thicker ones you might be struggling, so I would double check that first before you buy one. And again, the height, that will clear once it's in the wider bit there, and the front should just clear it, but it's gonna be a tight fit. But I just thought I'd show you that. But like I said, I can't see anybody buying one of these just to keep wheelie bins in. So yeah, as you saw there, 2 bigger size wheelie bins. Don't think it's going to go. Thinner ones, yeah, it would go. Right, let's have a look at the final thing now. All my stuff is in it. I've spent this morning thinking what I'm going to put in it, and it has freed a fair amount of room up in the garage. All the chair and the workmate and stuff like that I used to have at the back of the garage, at the back of the Scorpion, and every time I want to get the Scorpion out, I've got to move all that out of the way and then put the Scorpion back at the end of the day and put it all back. So that's one of the main reasons I've got this. It's freed up a lot of room. So let's see how much you can get in it. Okay, so that's it, fully done. Everything's in there. I might change my mind with a few things later on, but I'll just show you what we've got in there. So, and it all fits. So, pull that up,
swing that out. So you can see quite a lot of gear inside. Let's have a look close up. Okay, as you can see, I got my power washer in there, pair of steps behind it, a sun lounger chair which I won't be using for quite a few months now, my Henry, my 2 car wash buckets, and bag of, what do you call it, microfiber cloths, all the car cleaning stuff along there. Oh, also, sorry, I forgot, I've got my Black & Decker workmate behind there. If it didn't have this shelf in the way, could have stood both of them up, the chair and the workmate, and made a bit more room. So if you're using it for bulky stuff, it might be best without the shelf. But I think I'll stick at that, just the one shelf. And so I've got all that car washing stuff and some of the tools that I don't use very often. The chainsaw, mini handheld chainsaw that I recently reviewed. Again, if you haven't seen a review of that, check the card up here now, above my finger. And yeah, just some like taps and dies, hole saws, spare drill, hot glue gun, stuff like that I don't use that often. So, well, I do use the hot glue gun, but I've got 2 of them, so yeah, a reasonable amount of stuff, and so it closes pretty easy. Shove that down. And it's just a matter of putting the lock through there now. All done.
Yeah, all done indeed. So yeah, as a conclusion, what do I think? Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Totally maintenance free. Don't need to paint it. It's supposed to be UV proof. Only time will tell about that. I like the raised floor. Not massively secure, but is any outside shed. It's about as secure as it could come. Because they could, one idea, put a bit of metal behind that HASP, stop them just cutting through the plastic. Anything else I'd like to see changed? Maybe, like I say, a lip for that rear shelf, but I gave reasons before why they probably haven't put that on. Other than that, I think it's a pretty well designed, easy to put together thing, and it's freed up loads of room for me, like I say, in the garage. So hopefully it has been of some use. Apologies again for it being so long, but as you know, I'd sooner the video be really long and intensive and show every single aspect of it, because you can always fast forward it. If I cut it down too short, there'd be something left down that might be of interest to somebody. So that is it. So again, don't know what the next review will be. I'm pretty excited at the moment. I've treated myself a lot of money. I paid for it with my own money, but in the Black Friday sale, I've treated myself to a Bamboo Lab X1 carbon printer with the AMS multi-colour, multi-roll thing on the top. I've been reading and watching tons and tons of reviews on it, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I love me existing Elegoo, but this is way faster and loads more features. I don't think I'll be doing a review on it because there are loads and loads and loads of more experienced and more dodgeable 3D printers who've done reviews on it. This will be my 4th printer, so if I come across anything that I haven't seen in any other review, I'll do one. But yeah, I'm really excited. That should be here in 2 or 3 days, so who knows, I might do a review on that, I don't know. But I guarantee they will keep coming. As long as I keep buying stuff, I'll keep doing them. So thanks a lot again for watching this. If you haven't already, forgot, please give me a thumbs up if you can. That would be absolutely fantastic. Even a thumbs down if it's been of no use to you. But I think it does register on the algorithm at the YouTube thing, the thumbs up, so that would be great. If you haven't already subscribed, please click the little picture of the shed here. Yeah, I always get mixed up which side. Little picture of the shed here, and then click the bell icon below and you'll be informed of any future uploads. So once again, thanks for watching this, and thanks for getting me subscribers well over the 3,000. We're up to, at the end of this video, up to 3,033. Fantastic. See you again soon. Bye for now.